Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back to our channel. It's me, Eric, one of the education specialists for Easton Bank's Learning and Life Center, where I oversee the Project G.R.A.P.E program. We are here in the school garden and we're back for another garden tour. I haven't harvested anything for the past few days, so there are a lot of different plants getting a bit bigger as far as like our leafy vegetables. We have some root crops that we've already seeded in the ground, and we have potatoes growing as well. And there are so many transplants in the greenhouse that are getting bigger and bigger, waiting for their time in the summer to be transplanted out. Before we get into today's video, please make sure to subscribe. I'm so sorry for the wind. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and do not forget to click the notification bell in your corner, in top right corner of your screen, or the left, I don't know, but just make sure to click it to be notified of when we drop new videos, which is every single week. We want to thank our latest subscriber here for joining our channel and being part of our journey here in the garden and with our other youth development programs. Just flip the compost. I know you saw a little clip in the beginning of this video. That was me finding out once again that there were ants in the compost. I didn't flip it for at least a week, and so this was just my first time getting back to the compost and checking on it. It's breaking down all of that organic material. It looks more fluffy, which is awesome. It doesn't have as many roots and pieces of stems of plants in it, because the microorganisms are breaking down all of that organic matter, which is perfect. That's what we want to see. But since we did have the ants, I did have to use a lot of water to drown them out. As a tip, again, for those that are wanting to create their own compost, you always want to make sure that your compost is moist, but not oversaturated. If it's oversaturated, then the microorganisms won't be able to do their job. And let's start on the far end over here, where we have our 6 rows, where we are creating, well, not creating, but we are editing the rows that we already have. So we've added more compost to this area. We still have to clean up the back area there. As you see, as we get to right here, it's a lot more debris. So we need to continue to remove more of those vines, remove some of this shrubs from leaning over, because it looks like they're turning into actual trees. So just clip them back a bit and add compost to that back section there. We want everything to be elevated so that the roots of the plants that we put over here, the 3 sisters, corn, squash, green beans, they have so much room to spread their roots. Now, all of those plants don't have long, super long roots like tomatoes, but they can send out at least one root to search for water. Just as an example, squash. Squash sometimes does send out one long root in search of water. So we want to make sure that we elevate the soil, but also just create more space, because there's so much space over here that we can use for gardening. And that's why we're going to add that super long row to the back to just have more produce come out of the garden. Now, this wind tunnel here has some produce that we've already harvested from. This broccoli that was in here grew so well. The Swiss chard, this bed didn't do so well because we did have to till it. The roots from the nearby trees tend to get into the bed and make it very, compact. This is the same thing that happens at my own home garden. The raised beds get very compact, so every year I have to till it and get the roots out from the nearby trees. But things are growing fairly well. We have Swiss chard and garlic in this bed. The arugula is going to seed. And we have arugula over here going to seed as well, developing flowers. I thought it was a grass, but it's just leaning because we had a lot of rain last night. But this broccoli got so big. It was the biggest broccoli that we've had in the garden for the first time. It started to develop other heads, so we harvested them days ago. And then the cabbage is still growing, so hopefully we get a head on all three of those. The cilantro is going to seed, looks like too, so we'll try to harvest from that in the next few days. And then over here we have our dinosaur kale and our red Russian kale here. And it looks beautiful. Hopefully it does get big. I do believe that's a collard there. But we do need to get some fish fertilizer. We ran out, so I know we need to get some to fertilize all the plants. Learning as we go in terms of how to utilize the compost. If you watch our last video, we talked about how the compost that we got delivered has a high pH, and so it's a little learning curve when transplanting into that compost. Over here, this is the area, hopefully you can see, this is the area where we planted our strawberries. So the strawberries don't seem to be doing that well. You can tell they've bounced back a bit, but a few of them have died, seems like. We have 1, 2. I think one of the reasons why the poppy flower is doing so well, well, not poppy, that's a Cosmo, I'm so sorry. The Cosmo flower is doing so well is because we had the soil still connected to the roots in which it was growing in, and so it didn't have to do too much adapting to its new environment. So that's just a tip for us later. Make sure that any medium that the plants are growing in, we keep it just so that the transition is more easy for the plant. It's so much work that has to be done over here. We have to clip back the old debris on the perennials that we have over here. We need to remove these old zinnia plants that are just gone. We need to remove these weeds. We need to add a lot of compost to raise the level of the soil and just make it more uniform to what that area looks like. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that needs to happen, but we're gonna get it done in the next few weeks. We're gonna get it done. Okay, so we're gonna go inside the greenhouse. I think I'm gonna just do a voice over, because the fans are on, as you can hear probably in the video now. So I'm just gonna do a voice over and just show you all of the different plants that are growing, that have been transplanted, well, not transplanted, planted, but up potted, and the new seeds that we have started so far. To start off, we have our tomatoes here. These are a variety of different tomatoes. We have black cherry, mortgage lifter, orange jazz, and some other tomatoes. Then we have the basil, cilantro that we needed to up pot, and we finally have some Siberian wildflowers growing, which are such a pretty flower. And we up potted our parsley, and we have more tomatoes and chamomile growing. And we also need to do more peppers. We don't have as many peppers as we want, but we do have, I would say, at least 30 pepper plants growing right now. And we definitely could, have a little bit more growing. I took some clippings from a sage plant and a blackberry plant that I have at my home, in my own home garden, and I brought it to the school garden so we could have some of those plants there. That is one way for you to extend the life of your garden, by borrowing clippings from, fellow gardeners in your community to have plants in your own garden. Do like a plant swap. And then we have the squash and watermelon that you just saw. We're gonna do a few more squash plants, and we have basil that we potted. We have different varieties of basil. So these are the last two rows, this row and the row on the other side of this greenhouse. This whole section, I'm going to remove these hoops that we have here because we're not going to be utilizing them anymore, even though we still have our last frost coming in the next 3 weeks. There won't be no need for those. So we're going to move those today, and we are thinking the summer crops will go in this area. So right here, from right where the broccoli is in the front right here where I'm pointing, all the way down to this section here where the purple cabbage is, or the red Russian kale is, that whole area in between will be for our summer crops. So tomatoes, peppers, other herbs like basil and rosemary. Honestly, the rosemary may go in a bucket. We haven't determined that yet, but this area will be for the summer crops. And we do have some Swiss chard in between here, at least 4 Swiss chard plants, along with the dinosaur kale there. We're going to need to find those plants a new home. We may put them either on the sides here, either over here or over there, but they need to have a new home because they can't stay here. We're most likely just going to remove all of this stuff and put it in this pile. We're not adding any of this to the compost because it has aphids, and everything in here has or had aphids as well. So we don't want to add that to the compost. We're just going to put them in a pile and then put that pile somewhere over there in the brush, so it'll decompose on its own. You never want to use plants that have aphids or any other pest damage because you don't really know, especially if you don't know how hot your compost is going to get, especially to kill off those eggs. So we just don't deal with it at all. So we're gonna just clean up this area, remove the plants, transplant the ones that we want to keep. We're gonna leave the thyme here because it seems to love this area. It's been here for a year now, so we're just gonna keep it there. And once we clear up this whole area and it's empty of weeds and debris, we're going to add compost to this area and just let it sit and rest until we get to planting all of our summer crops. We do have onions over here, so we're going to make sure that we don't remove any onions. We're just going to keep the onions where they are, and those will be great companions for our tomatoes and peppers. But that's everything for this area. This area did so well this past fall and winter, so we're thankful, and we're just ready to see what the spring and summer will look like with new plants in this area. Not all of them are going to be planted. Some of these tomato plants I'm going to take from my own garden. Some of the tomato plants will be taken to the community garden, and if we have any extras, we'll probably either sell them or donate them to other farmers or gardeners or people that want to get into gardening. So we just like to start a lot of plants just so that if anything happens during their time of getting more mature, that we always have a backup. You always want to have a backup plan. So we are going to have some of the tomatoes over here. I know we had our tomato cage, not cage, but tomato trellis on the row area over there. We're not doing tomatoes there this year at all in any row. That area over there will be specifically for squash, corn, and green beans. So over here, I'm thinking of doing the block method that we did last year, which turned out very beautiful, and I love the way it looked. So, and what I mean by block is every square foot or square foot and a half or whatever, we'll put okra and then peppers, herbs, flowers, and just have a block so that everybody has their own space. And there'll probably be a few sections that are interplanted where it's not solely one specific type of plant, but I just feel like having some type of uniformity will be beneficial. I'm really excited for the summer. The only thing I'm a little hesitant on are the pests. We have already seen a large infestation of aphids on all of the brassicas, especially the brassicas that are going to seed. And that's fine because we're not harvesting from them. But now they are slowly making their way to the the brassicas that have not gone to seed yet. And I've even noticed some aphids on our apple trees here. Like this apple tree right there, that's been dealing with a lot of aphids. So I've been making sure to constantly spray this tree with our our neem oil mixture. We use neem oil extract, a little dish soap, and water. And every evening I come and spray it. And so I don't see too many aphids on it now, but I'm definitely going to have to do a lot of upkeep with, well, not upkeep, but like maintenance, and stay on top of the aphids, because if not, they will take over this garden. And at that point, it's like you just have to live with them. We have to remove all of these weeds, lay down cardboard, and then on top of the cardboard place the compost that we have. We're going to do a mixture of the compost that we're growing ourselves and a mixture of the compost that was delivered. There are a few spots in this in-ground area that does need some elevation using compost. That area right there, you can see that there's like a dip that needs more compost, but we won't be able to do that until we harvest our onions and garlic. And then over here is the same situation. We have snap peas and onions growing over in this corner, so we really won't be able to add any compost until the snap peas are removed. Once summer comes, probably like mid-June, we'll remove the snap peas, and then late June, early July, we'll be able to remove the garlic. So until then, well, when that happens, we'll then come in and add the compost to raise the level, because as you can see, we had heavy rain last night and this area gets super swamped, and that does affect the plants, because if the soil is too low, then the roots are sitting in all that water, and that's not good for the plants because they'll die out from being drowned. So that's the work that has to be done. Not right now because we can't do it right now, but in the future that will be done. We did start seeds over here. We did some turnip greens and radish seeds that you see there. They started to come in. There's been an animal. I don't know if it's a squirrel, a bunny, chipmunks, because we do have chipmunks. We have all of those animals. Or cats. We do have cats in the garden too. So it's one of those animals that, or it could be a raccoon or a possum, but some critter has been digging in the beds throughout the garden, and they just go to specific areas, and I don't know why they're doing it, but they do it. And so we did put seeds here, but they dug. As you can see, it looks like it's been dug through. Each time they come and dig, I try to level out the soil, but nothing has sprouted there, so I'm not going to worry about it, because a lot of this area will be for peppers and tomatoes. We have those crops there. Once those crops germinate, well, not germinate, but grow bigger and we harvest, we won't plant anything there until our tomatoes and peppers are ready. And I think over here in this area, we're going to do squash, because this area gets some shade and a lot of sun. So I think once we remove all of the snap peas, we're going to go ahead and remove the kale and the onions. We're just going to take everything out. and put squash in its place. And then here we have a mixture of different seeds that we started. In the back there we have the ox heart carrot, I believe. It's a new carrot that we have started to grow. As you can see, the seedlings have started to sprout and germinate. And so those will be coming up shortly too. And what I'm really excited for is our chamomile. We have more chamomile in the greenhouse growing, but this one has been here all year, since last year around this time, and it's still growing. And so we have new buds coming up, as you can see, and we're gonna start harvesting a lot of the chamomile. We're gonna be transplanting a lot. We're gonna be transplanting a lot of the chamomile as well as harvesting it, because we want to create our own tea in order to sell it to our supporters. And so in that little mixture we'll have the chamomile and maybe some mint mixed in with one another. So we have to get our mint growing. I know mint doesn't take long to germinate, so we have to get that started as well. Thank you guys for watching. We hope you guys learned something today. There are so many things happening in the garden right now, and we're just trying to keep a handle on everything, making sure that we are prepared for this new garden season, because it's a new garden. Each garden season is new, with new challenges, but also new rewards that come from the garden, all your hard work. So we are really excited for everything that's growing and all the students that have been a part of this whole process. So make sure to follow us on our socials. We can be found on Facebook and Instagram at EBLLCINC, and on TikTok at Project Grape. Check out the description box to find out how you can support our organization and our program, Project Grape. We will be coming out very, 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 very soon with some new merch, both t-shirts and, like I mentioned, the tees. Will be coming out with different options for you to not only support the programs, but to, take away with some things that you can use in your everyday life. So stay tuned for that. We will be making an announcement on all of our social channels. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and we will see you all later in the garden. Bye.